The Marshall Plan, that's
Okay,
it.
okay.
The Marshall Plan. And so he happened to be in Germany and found this town that was so much like Rolla. I mean, it had a mining situation, it had a university, it had art and music and all of this stuff. And he kind of wanted it to become a sister city. So he brought people from Sondershausen here. By the way, Sondershausen is only 50 kilometers from where I lived. So that
Wow.
it's in East Germany. And so then that friendship grew, and there was other things we did, and it kind of petered off, and we went several times, and but no official from here ever went. And that saddened us. Until last year, when a dear friend of mine, Martina Hanbauer, who homeschools her children, who is German, and her parents live here too, and they're German, was going to go to Germany to visit her relatives. I mean, she speaks beautifully. And she was going to take her children, and so she asked me about getting in touch with Sondershausen. And they had been here for the celebration when we had the reenactment of the military and all of that, and we had a great time. So she went, and she is really on her toes, and she's getting it going. She has been in touch to do some music with Jeff Sandquist.
Very cool.
We've had a soccer exchange.
Very cool.
She's working on that as well. Let's see, what else are we doing? We want to send Tammy
Luke.
Tammy and our mayor and our city person and Jeff Sandquist to Sondershausen.
Oh, and of course me to record it all, right?
Pardon? It doesn't matter. But, and we've also, there's a very eloquent, dedicated Rotarian in my Rotary group, and he has written a grant
Oh, wow.
to appeal for funds from the Rotary. And unfortunately, I can't go to I'm on the board, but I'm not getting there. But Kent, our president, said it looked good. So, now this is off the record.
Okay, off the record.
It looked good, but there seems to be some support really underway, and we're going to finally send some people from here to there. So I'm really excited. On that. Now, we've also been involved in foreign exchange programs. We've had 2 private students from Germany years ago. We had a Rotarian student from Turkey, a Rotarian student from Germany. I think all of you are too young to remember her. She was the tennis star.
Oh, yes.
Vicky Weaver.
Yes.
And then we had, a year ago, we had Valeria from Peru. Maybe some of you met Valeria. She lived with us. In fact, we went to visit her last summer, and we spent a week with her and her family. So we've been very involved, and I'm just pro foreigners.
Yes.
I mean,
Because you knew what it was like to
I
come
know
in.
what it's like. Yeah.
Very good.
So do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was wondering, at what point in your life did you really realize like what had happened to cause all this grief and horrible nonsense between Russians and Poles and just all the tension in Europe?
That's a very good question. I think when I came back to East Germany, I was too young in the concentration camp to have any feelings. Because, I mean, let's face it, I had my sister, I had my mom, I had my world. But once I came to Germany, that was taken away from me, and you know, we had sort of a life, and I saw all the grief around me. Kids, we would witness the Russians barricaded our village so we couldn't get food. And we were on rations anyway, but that was never enough. And so young women of children would carry Lenson, which were the backpacks, school backpacks, children's backpacks on their back, and they would go to the village to buy food. And many of these were misused by the Russian soldiers. And we would witness that on Sunday afternoons when we went for a walk with my family. There was just a lot of abuse by soldiers, and I know this goes on even today, and it just breaks my heart. I knew there was something wrong, but even when talking to my mom, I asked her about Hitler, and she says, I would have followed anyone who promised to feed my babies. And that's why he was able to get control. And he was evil. He was terribly evil all across the board. So that's when I knew it. And give you a funny little story. Long time after we were married and I had children, and my husband and I took a trip back to Canada, and I wanted to show him where I lived in Didsbury. It was a huge house, I told him, had hardwood floors everywhere, because my mom used to have us, and they were the real hardwood floors, not polyurethane, and she would have us wax them and shine them on our butts, you know. And you know, and we had a piano, and we had these front stairs that were long, and big trees on either side of the house. So I found the street, and I found the dairy where my dad worked in Didsbury, and I looked back, and there was a small little house. And I knew when I lived there, I really did have the world. I had never ever seen anything like that. I mean, when we were in the concentration camp, we had a pot-belly stove on a dirt floor. I was given the responsibility of my young cousin, who was 1.5 years. I was 5, and my responsibility was to change his diapers, to keep the fire in the pot-belly stove going to keep him warm. And I remember one day I got so intrigued with reading. My mom came home and I forgot about Richard, and it was cold, and she gave me a beating that I would never forget, and that was to tell me I needed to take care of my responsibilities and take care of Richard so he would not get sick. The gentleman in some of my photos in Poland, maybe I don't have that included, is Richard. He's the one who took us back. Oh yes, here he is. That's him and that's him. And he took us back so we could meet with Mrs. Brozak in Poland. So, yeah. So, and now, I mean, I just feel so fortunate.
Right.
I have a wonderful life. So.
It's emotionally exhausting to tell this, isn't it? Yes.
And I love my time in Waynesville as a German teacher.
She knows your grandma. She knows grandmas.
Yeah, I told her she was my favorite person in the whole wide world while I was there, because she did everything I asked her. Why not?
Yes, yes.
No, she was lovely. She truly was lovely. So, and I was, I was surrounded by people, by children who had been overseas, had lived overseas. I remember one of my German 2 classes, we had a parent day at school, you know, where parents come talk to the teacher and all of this. I held the whole thing in German because all my parents were women who were from Germany.
Oh, that's exciting.
And it was just too cool.
Very neat.
So.
How did you end up here after all that traveling?
End up? How did she get blessed to be here?
My husband, after my husband got his PhD, he did a 2-year postdoc at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, the University of North Carolina.
My mom's from there.
Really?
Yeah.
Chapel Hill?
She went to college there. She lived in Kingston.
Okay. My daughter was born in Durham, at Duke.
Wow.
Yeah. Then he got a job at Drake University in Des Moines. And we lived there for 15 years. And in the 15th year, he was really wooed by the physics department here. And they kept after him and after him. And I remember going to Germany and then flying over to see some friends in London, and came back and he said, well, I might meet you in the air. I'm on my way to Germany right now, but when I get back, they want me to go to Rolla. Will you go with me? I said, Rolla, what? And so we came here for a visit on a motorcycle. Well, we were motorcyclists.
From Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Quite a ride.
Oh, honey, we did weekends on motorcycles. I wouldn't call it a gang, but we had a group. Serious group
style.
riders. And so we looked around. And now remember when I moved to Des Moines, I took my baby, went to Edmonton, Alberta for a month because I thought Des Moines was just a little cow town. Well, it has about 900 people, 900,000 people, so that wasn't very small. So then he was granted a sabbatical for a year, and he took a trip around the world with us and his two daughters. And so we traveled around the world, and when we came back and he talked with the Drake people, they said, you know, you've done a great deal of good for our university, and we acknowledge everything you did. We will not pay. See, you can't leave a university after your sabbatical. That's the rule. But they let him go without any problem. And so we did come here, and he insisted I take out a 5-year leave of absence from my school. I taught at Central Campus in Des Moines, just in case I wanted to go back home. And so 5 years later, you know, he still insisted I do this. I said, look, I'm not going back to Des Moines. Let's forget it. So we stayed here, and that's how I got here.
Very good.
Yeah. And I remember the superintendent from Waynesville calling me and saying that they had a job and they'd really like me to interview. And then he said, now I talked to your daughter. She said you were out running. I used to be a runner. And he said, now, if you work for Waynesville High School, and I understand she's a cheerleader, who will you root for? And I said, for whichever teams plays the best.
Good answer. Miss Madison took over for my German teacher, who was
That's right. Oh my gosh.
Ferrari.
Yes.
So.
No, the girls didn't like me very much.
Well, it was a rough transition, I'm sure. So
He was a young soccer coach, was he?
I think he was.
Yeah.
Ferreric's
And
good-looking guy.
Good-looking guy, and good with the ladies, you know, and the classes were just filled with young girls. Filled with young girls. And then Frau Madison came. And she made them speak German.
Very good.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, but I know that several kids said, this is not how Mr.
This
So-and-so
isn't here-
taught.
this isn't
And
here
I
for
said,
us
I'm
at all."
sorry, this is the way it is.
Yeah. So good.
But I stayed.
Yes. That worked out well.
It did.
So how many of you guys are in German class? 3 of you? Two?
2? Okay.
I'm
And
in
you're
German 30.
from Tammy Luke? Yeah. I had her in 9th grade.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, she's passed the torch because she makes them speak German.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Good. Sehr gut. Well, you obviously speak German quite well, and I'm pleased about that.
Thank you.
Yes. Spend a little more time. Now, what year are you?
This is my 3rd year, but I'm in German 4. I tested up and I moved up.
Okay,
one.
so you can't be a Rotary student, can you?
He's a junior.
That
Oh
was
no, he has that pesky soccer in the fall that and you have to do a year long. But he did do the summer in Berlin, and I know
Yeah,
that he's
that's
planning on doing
More
some,
of that, that'd be good. That'd be good.
definitely a year abroad,
Yeah.
majoring in
Maybe you
German.
could travel to Sunday's House and-
That would be, and as a journalist,
as a journalist.
Yeah.
Yes.
just keep that in
I'll
mind.
keep it in my head. Okay, we just had a meeting last Monday.
Very good.
Which was yesterday, right? But I couldn't go.
Rotary sponsored him to the RILA this last summer too, so.
To the what?
To RILA last summer, to the Rotary Youth Leadership.
Oh, great.
Thing, so he got to do all of that too, so.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Good.
Good stuff.
Well, one of
Good
my
connections.
students from Waynesville was a Rotary scholar, and she spent a year in Germany. And the year she went was when we had Vicky, and she spent a semester at Vicky's house
Oh,
while
neat.
Vicky was here.
That's cool.
And Tina came back speaking fluent German,
Very good.
fluent,
Very
even
good.
with idiomatic syncrasies that she picked up as a kid.
Very good.
So that was fun. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and
Yeah.